My home state of Michigan is divided into two separate peninsulas. This is unique in the United States, and is confusing enough that maps on TV shows and cartoons often show the two peninsulas as different states. Thank you, The Simpsons. Rest assured, we're one state, connected by the Mackinac Bridge, built in 1957. A mile and a half long, it serves as the actual separation between two Great Lakes, Lake Huron on the east side of the bridge, and Lake Michigan on the west. Upon this tip of the lower peninsula of Michigan, once stood Fort Michilimackinac. Michilimackinac was built by the French in 1715, but when they were defeated in the French and Indian War in the 1760s, England took over.
Boy! Fire! God save the king!
A few years later, warriors from the Ojibwe tribe stopped playing a form of lacrosse in front of the fort to do what they'd been secretly planning to do all along: get inside and kill almost everyone. The fort was destroyed, and another one was built on nearby Mackinac Island, but years later, Michilimackinac was rebuilt and became the home of daily reenactments of the time period of the original fort. Now I find this interesting, but maybe no one else will. We were looking at some of the exhibits when we noticed the touchscreen kiosk describing life in the fort. And my dad remembered that around the time I was born, he made this program. He programmed the touchscreen that plays videos, and he did it years and years ago. And here it was, still in perfect working condition. True story, there's an Easter egg built into it that can be activated if you hit the proper buttons, and the entire thing will play a song and say something about my birth, since it was made near the time I was born. But it was too long ago, he couldn't remember what order you needed to hit the buttons. Since we wanted to get on the first ferry to Mackinac Island, we needed to get up at the crack of dawn. This is easier for a lot of people than it is for me. Every hour a ferry loads up with people and their belongings, makes a 7-mile trip to the island, unloads and comes back. They move quickly, and even though it's pretty cold out in the wind, I decided to sit up top. The boat speeds along on a nearly half-an-hour trip to Mackinac Island, known to its early Ojibwe inhabitants as the Great Turtle, first land on Earth, home of the Great Spirit, and land where the first man was placed on Earth. Pretty important place. No motorized vehicles have been allowed on the island since 1898, so you get around the almost 4-square-mile island by foot, by horse carriage, or by bike. The island is also the location of Fort Mackinac, built by the English during the Revolutionary War. This fort isn't a recreation, but the actual one, so Mickey and I had to check it out. It's a long ramp up the front of the fort and a much longer slope up the back, so we took the long ramp. Once you're in the fort, it's very cool. Reenactors from various eras demonstrate weaponry used at the fort. And then Mickey and I got hands-on. Since it's so high up, it's got a great view of the island. One very interesting view you can get is of Mackinac Island's Grand Hotel. This historic hotel has been visited by Thomas Edison and Mark Twain, and is the place they shot the sci-fi time travel film, disguised as a chick flick, Somewhere in Time. The movie starred Jane Seymour and the late Christopher Reeve, and has become so popular over time, that there is an annual Somewhere in Time weekend at the Grand Hotel with fans dressing in period clothing. I think maybe I should see this movie someday. There's a haunted house on the main street of the island that is super fun. Mickey, my dad, and I went through it, but two girls behind me that we didn't know asked if they could walk with us, and ended up attached to me as we went through the place. If you hugged me and cried and held on to me the entire time we went through the haunted house on Mackinac Island last August, email me. We should talk. Anyway, after a steep walk down the front of the fort, I found myself, as I often do, standing by a body of water consuming a strange food. And for no particular reason, this time around it was a drink that had nothing to do with the place I was trying it. It's like I traveled to Thailand and sampled a fine Italian drink. This time I was on a strange island with no modern vehicles, drinking a beverage from Thailand. And the noise from the waves was massive. I can't really use this sound on location, but I can talk on and on about what I thought about it. Okay, so this drink is filled with basil seeds that float in this gelatinous fluid like frog eggs. But the taste? Silky smooth, sweet, light, and more than a little like bubble tea. Yeah, bubble tea. That delicious drink with the utterly incongruous balls of tapioca mixed throughout that I actually really like. This basil seed drink is actually really good. So the trip was wonderful. I drank a strange but delicious Thai drink on the shores of Lake Huron while people stared at me, and everything turned out great. Sometimes things just go that way.